how can we convince China of that? Since the main issue are the troubles in the West Philippine Sea.
Well, I think it's not required for us to explain to China what we're supposed to be doing. No, I think what's important is to convey to the Filipino people really the reason for this summit, which is that all of the three nations face similar challenges. All of the three nations value the same things in life. No, they adhere to certain values and principles, and it is for this reason, given the geopolitical tensions happening across the world and in our region, that the three nations would like to have a trilateral summit for the purpose of further cooperation and deepening the relationships between the three countries.
Okay, is this being anticipated, ADG Malaya, that, when you say challenges and geopolitical tension, it's almost impossible not to refer to China in this matter. So, I mean, has the Philippines, for example, considered how this might go down with our neighbor to the west or to the north?
Yes, but it's not. I agree with the Department of Foreign Affairs that it's not really meant for China. The Trilateral Summit is essentially for the three countries because, as I said, they all face the same challenges and they all have the same values, and they see that it's best that we approach these issues together. For example, on the issue of cybersecurity, no? The threat to the threat of cybersecurity, cyber threats to the three countries are present. No, so one of the things that will be discussed in Washington during the Trilateral Summit is how to deepen the engagement of the three countries in countering threats to our cybersecurity. So it is not specifically focused on one country. It is focused on the problems that all the three countries and the challenges that the three countries are facing at the moment.
But sir, but still looking westward to the West Philippine Sea, what do you think we would be able to get in terms of either commitments or maybe even policy declarations as far as the issue on the West Philippine Sea is concerned from the trilateral meetings?
Okay, in terms of security, we expect a lot on the security side, but it has been emphasized by the Department of Foreign Affairs and by the three countries themselves that this trilateral summit is not primarily focused on security, right? But in so far as security is concerned, I think there will be an opportunity to firm up commitments. For example, on the official security assistance to the Philippines, by Japan, for example. So the delivery of the coastal radars, for example, I'm sure will be, and how the United States and Japan can help us in our modernization efforts, particularly in maritime defense, maritime domain awareness. Okay, so aspects like that I will be at the agenda of the three leaders when they meet in Washington.
As well, sir, there's been some discussion in the past by various sectors about the possibility of a VFA with Japan, between Japan and the Philippines. I don't know if that's moved forward or if that's being pursued by the administration, but where are we as far as that proposal is concerned?
That is being pursued very vigorously. The objective and the goal of both countries is to expedite the reciprocal access agreement with the Philippines and Japan. In fact, a team from Japan just came and left. No, they left I think yesterday. They came to the Philippines and met with officials from the Department of Foreign Affairs, from the Department of National Defense, the Department of Justice. No, so they're ironing out the legal framework for the RAA. But what is also critical, no, and this was discussed by the Japanese ambassador who came to our office just this morning, is the need for the implementation of the RAA. You know, it doesn't end with the legal framework. No? The legal framework is just the beginning of the cooperation between the two countries insofar as the RAA is concerned. So there is a commitment, a clear commitment on both sides, on both parties, to get this RAA done as quickly as possible.
So-
And the target is to sign it within the year.
Within the year. Would this be one of the more significant outputs that will come out of the meeting in Washington, Mr. Malaya?
Yes, I would think so. I think the summit would be a reaffirmation of what has been the result of the bilateral meetings between the Japanese Prime Minister and the Philippine President, and also the President's visit to Washington.
Okay. Ms. ADG Malaya, do you see this Trilateral Summit eventually leading to an alliance of sorts with the U.S. and Japan?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't know, to be perfectly honest. We already have an MDT with the United States. Whether this will lead to some sort of military alliance in the future, I think, is something that has to be discussed more thoroughly.
Well, sir, I suppose you can also imagine how China could react to that kind of possibility, considering its history with Japan, which has not been very friendly, and as well with what's happening now between China and the U.S. So, how exactly do you think China would be responding to any discussion in the trilaterals over security issues on the West Philippine Sea?
Well, as I said, it's really difficult. It's really very difficult to ascertain what kind of reaction we're going to get from Beijing. But insofar as we at the National Security Council is concerned, and NSA Annual will be joining the president in Washington, we're not here to heighten up the tensions. We're not here to provoke. We're not here to create problems in the West Philippine Sea, as we have been doing in the past. But maybe they'll consider this as provocative, because remember, our regular resupply missions to Ayungin, even if we use small supply boats, they still consider it as provocative. They consider it as not helpful in resolving issues and an escalation on their end. So I don't exactly know how they're going to respond, but if they say that this kind of arrangement, Trilateral Summit, is a provocation, I would not be surprised.
So, sir, since you brought it up, I was also headed in that direction. Given what's been happening the past few months and weeks, yung patuloy na pambobomba ng water cannons, it's a small wooden vessel. It's a chartered civilian vessel. There's also been some talk of the need to tweak or refocus or maybe review the strategy as far as the resupply missions are concerned. I'm wondering where we are as far as that is concerned. Do we still see the need to use a civilian chartered vessel for RORE, given na talagang hindi naman pinagbibigyan kahit civilian vessel eh. And like it or not, sir, nagbubukang smuggler yung RORE natin. You look at it, and they're not giving us any quarter anyway.
Yeah. From the very beginning, the purpose of utilizing Unay Samay 1 and the wooden ships was, to show to China that we're utilizing civilian boats.
Yes,
this
sir.
is a regular routine mission. We're not using our Navy. It's just escorted by our civilian uniformed Philippine Coast Guard. So that was exactly the message that we were trying to say. But
yes,
unfortunately, China has a different look at things. It doesn't matter to them whether it's a wooden boat or not. So immediately after what happened in the latest incident in Ayungin Shoal, the National Security Advisor requested for a meeting with the Executive Secretary and relevant members of the security cluster. And there was a package of recommendations that arose from that meeting. And those recommendations have already been submitted to the President, and we are just awaiting for the final go signal from the President to begin implementing some of these recommendations.
Okay.
But some of them have already been implemented. For example, the creation of the National Maritime Council from old National Coast Watch Council is part of those responses or countermeasures. And to answer your question about tweaking or adjustments to our resupply missions, yes, there has been some decisions already made. So we will have some adjustments in our resupply mission to our uh, commissioned vessel, BRP Sierra Madre in EU mission.
Okay, would those adjustments include reconsidering an offer from the United States to provide some escort to those resupply boats?
Well, I cannot comment on that at the moment for national security purposes, but I think the trajectory of government at present is to keep this a Philippine mission manned by Philippine personnel and conducted by Philippine vessels.
Pero sir, would that retweaking include possibly using an official Philippine boat in the actual resupply instead of a civilian chartered boat?
Okay. Much as I would like to answer that question, we cannot telegraph our moves
Yes, sir.
to the People's Republic of China. So I would like to respectfully decline to make a comment.
So you mentioned a while ago, or just a while ago, keeping this a Philippine mission with using Filipino personnel. Does this mean that no to an offer from the U.S. to escort our supply boats?
Yes. Insofar as what has been relayed to me by our national security officials, the planning that we're doing right now is that we will do this on our own. It is our exclusive economic zone. It is a Philippine Navy commissioned vessel that is our outpost or our forward detachment, if whatever you call it, in Ayungin Shoal. Therefore, the primary responsibility for conducting these resupply missions is the Philippine government's and no one else.
Sir, I want to ask you a question. I don't know if you can answer it, or I don't know if if you're allowed to answer it. But let me ask you anyway. Just say if you can't. But China's been complaining that we've been reinforcing or repairing BRP Sierra Madre. Of course, it is within our EEZ, and we have certain rights that we should be allowed to do some activities within that EEZ. However, China's insisting that we are not supposed to be doing that. Could you tell us whether or not we have reinforced or repaired Sierra Madre? Only if you're allowed to, but otherwise, I'm willing to leave it there.
Yes. Let me just answer that question by saying that, as you yourself have said, our jurisdiction and maritime entitlements and our authority over the exclusive economic zone has been very well settled under laws and under international law. So we are at liberty and within our legal rights to do whatever is necessary to exercise that kind of presence, including what we did when we beached BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal.
Including repairing.
Yes. And we are doing whatever is necessary to keep BRP Sierra Madre in working condition.
Okay.
So, let me just answer it that way.
Okay, may isa pang matagal na tanong na kung saan na nagtuturuan ADG Malaya. China keeps saying that there was a promise to tow away. Do we know where that promise came from? From which administration that came from? Or
sometimes the messaging coming from China is also a little bit garbled because they refer to promise, agreements, promise, and it's not exactly clear what these agreements are. And if you remember at the beginning of this entire debate, I challenged the People's Republic of China to tell us who exactly, according to them, made that promise and under what circumstances. No? Because they kept on referring to this alleged promise, but no details are being given. And there's no way to settle this issue unless them, since they're the ones making the accusation, it is the responsibility to support that accusation. Unfortunately, we do not hear from them. So the last I heard, because there has been several versions of this promise, that it was made in 1999. Okay, so this would, I think, cover the administration of former President Estrada. But I think the officials of the Estrada administration has already made clear that it would not benefit them because they were the ones who beached it. and
Right.
then they promise to remove it. So sometimes the the numbers don't add up. So I think it is incumbent upon China uh, to settle the issue once and for all, so that we will know if indeed there was this alleged promise. You should tell us who made this promise to you so that we can investigate and validate.
Sir, bukod ako ng konti, I'll head a little bit more westward towards Pag-asa Island and Sand de Cay. Now, there was a mission to Sand de Cay just a few weeks ago involving the UP Maritime Institute and the Philippine Coast Guard. And there seem to be indications, I can only say indications because they haven't confirmed it yet, that there have been some Chinese activities on Sand de Cay, which is just, 3 to 4 kilometers away from Pag-asa Island. I think the reference point there is that if China at all does take over Sand de Cay, then we'll be eyeball to eyeball. They'll be eyeball to eyeball with our troops on Pag-asa Island. Where are we exactly as far as Sand de Cay is concerned? I mean, it's a sandy spit of 200 square meters, no structures, no vegetation, nobody at all. Are you free to tell us what we plan to do with Sand de Cay? I understand it's been claimed by Kalayaan, by the municipality of Kalayaan. In fact, it's already named Pag-asa Cay, I think.
Yes.
But other than that, we don't have any presence there. Are you free to talk about any plans for Sand de Cay?
Well, Pag-asa Cay is within the 12 nautical miles territorial sea
Yes, sir.
of Pag-asa Island. Okay, so it is clearly within the territory of the Philippines. But at present, what we're doing there, we sent the BFAR vessel to Sand de Cay for research purposes. No, because it's as the country that has the rights over its exclusive economic zone. Since it is within our exclusive economic zone, it is
And
the
territorial sea.
responsibility of the Philippines. It is responsible to the Philippines to ensure that the environment is protected in that area and to prevent any environmental degradation. So that was what we were doing, and there was some interference coming from the Chinese government, and they said that they shooed away our marine scientists. That's not true. That is not factual. That there was an attempt to interfere, but the mission succeeded, and our marine scientists stayed for a while in Sand de Cay. So what we're doing right now is just monitoring the situation, sending our scientists to do their scientific studies.
Yes, sir. But just to follow that up, because right now it is of course uninhabited. There are no structures. Are we going to undertake any moves to, I don't know, establish our presence there, or do we see no need to do that at this point?
Again, for national security purposes,
Yes, sir.
we cannot telegraph our moves to China at this time. What we're doing is essentially monitoring the situation and making sure that the environment is protected in that area.
Okay, ADG Malaya, you got me curious there. Do we know if China is eyeing Sand de Cay or Pag-asa Cay?
Well, they have by their actions, it looks like they are interested in Sand de Cay. In fact, what they're doing throughout the entire West Philippine Sea is that they're trying to change the status quo in many areas. How do they do that? By swarming, by sending 100 ships or more, by blocking our forces. So this is essentially a battle of wills between the Philippines and China.
Is there some intelligence on possible Chinese plan to occupy Sand de Cay?
We have not heard of any at the moment.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, because, sir, I read one article in one of the Chinese official websites that said that after they claimed to have shooed away our scientists from Sand de Cay, they landed and they at least landed on Sand de Cay before leaving again. So, at least by their claim, they go there freely.
Every time we send a mission to Sand de Cay, or some of our troops go there, we always receive some sort of diplomatic protests, from the People's Republic of China, or a statement coming from the People's Republic of China. So there's really interest on the part of China over this sandbar in the middle of the West Philippine Sea.